Cents Per Mile, featuring Charles Gracie, Paul Gibson, and Josh Haynes. Everyone knows the trucking industry has issues, but most people are afraid to talk about it.
Someone's got to do it.
With loads of recruiting and marketing experience and backed by the largest driver audience in the world, we deliver carriers the driver perspective, find solutions, and help make sense make sense.
We're still in Chattanooga, bringing you the exclusives on F3. This is Cents Per Mile. I'm your host, Charles Gracie.
And I'm your co-host, Paul Gibson. And there's a lot more shenanigans with the banana. Yep.
You're not looking so ripe today.
Well, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in, and this costume is really warm.
Well, let's get to it.
One of our sponsors is Truck Parking Club. I primarily wear mostly dark colors, blue and black, and I didn't have anything really in my wardrobe that matched. And so people ask why the banana. It's because it's the only yellow thing I own.
So we always showcase and talk about the puppy mill going on in the freight industry. But here at the Future of Freight Festival, we actually have a puppy mill on display. So I'm here with my good friend, my freight friend, Thomas Wasson from FreightWaves. Thomas, it's F3. It's party time.
Oh, yeah, no, this is day 2 right now. So this is like that marathon at the moment where we're waiting on that second wind and keep going.
It's one of those things where you get people from all different aspects of freight here. You got brokers, you got carriers, you got drivers.
You got bananas.
You have bananas. There's a lot going on here, a lot to digest. What's your favorite part of this? And do not just say the people.
The relationship making. No. I love getting to part of my job. I got to interview people. So I always get a new guest. It's like speed dating. I learn something new every day. And so I got to speak with the folks at Wabi doing some autonomous vehicle stuff. I've spoken with some guys at TTN, Fleet Solutions, about maintenance. And I think it's cool because events like this, sometimes you get pigeonholed into one, which are still great events. But if you go to like a MATS, you're going to get all trucking. If you go to like a Manifest, you're going to get like a lot of shippers and some other guys. You come to F3, you really get a varied crowd that doesn't always get to rub shoulders. And that's the cool thing, watching the interactions.
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, I even got to drive a truck simulator. It's been years since I drove a truck, and I got a 97. I think Amazon's going to try to recruit me after that. But hey, I'm always open for a conversation. What's some of the things you're taking away from this? I mean, we're still midway through this.
I mean, I think one of the first takeaways is like, it's really great to see when you meet people and they actually read your stuff. I know it doesn't sound like much. It may seem I'm famous, dear listener, but in fact, we're very cloistered sometimes. We don't always get that kind of feedback, and it means a big deal to me because we want to make a difference. The second thing I like is, getting the varied amount of people. I don't usually get to see them. So for me, this is the moment for me, but yeah, I think at the end of the day, just getting like that validation and feedback, because it's like once a year, it's kind of like a big family reunion. That's my big thing that kind of recharges me. And then I go hide again. I'm remote. I'm like a gopher, basically.
So where can people find you if they don't want you to be hiding on them?
FreightWaves.com/loaded and rolling. You can look me up, Thomas Wasson. Wasson, give it a go. Come January, I'll be doing truck tech as well. So I'll have 2 communities focused on trucking, and just check it out, FreightWaves.com. That's my spiel.
I'm here with Matthew Leffler, the Armchair attorney. He's a great person, personal friend, and we're at F3.
Great to see you, Charles. Thank you for having me on the program.
What are you talking about while you're here at F3?
So I'm at F3 talking about the biggest verdicts against trucking companies and manufacturers in the industry. Thermonuclear verdicts over $100 million. These things are absolutely, unequivocally bananas.
You got anything else? Because the banana puns all week have been a little much. I think we might need to find new material if he's going to pop out every time.
I love banana puns. They are so appealing to me. They are absolutely, unequivocally the best.
All right, we're at F3. I'm with Evan over at Truck Parking Club. Tell me everything that you guys have going on, and I know it's a lot, so let her rip.
So Truck Parking Club, we're a 2-sided marketplace where we help truckers find and reserve parking through our mobile app and website, and we help property owners and businesses monetize their extra space with truck parking. That can be a trucking company with extra space in the yard, a tow truck company, a truck repair shop, a 3PL, warehouse. Any space that's suitable for truck parking, we can get them in the business of truck parking same day. Currently, we're right under 1,000 locations across the U.S., 24,000 spaces, tens of thousands of drivers use us, and would be happy to use more drivers all across the U.S.
We love our sponsors. I love my freight friends. I got TAFS with me. quick flex on all that TAFS is about.
TAFS is about helping everybody grow. We're here for you. We're going to tailor programs about your needs and what it is that you need. We're going to get you paid faster than anyone in the industry, help you out with fuel discounts and everything else you need. Can't say it any better than that, but yeah.
Do you know that there's loads of bananas traveling U.S. highways all the time? And that takes a lot of a big network of freight to make that happen, and a lot of people. Speaking of a lot of people, what do you do?
TIE Software is the #1 TMS for freight brokers doing full truckload and LTL. We have the most complete solution in the space, so if you're a freight broker or you're a 3PL, you would be absolutely bananas to not check us out.
So many bucks.
I'm sitting here with Drew Sparks. It's time to go behind the desk with Tenstreet. How's it going, Drew?
First off, it's really good to be here in Chattanooga. As a Tennessean, it was a great trip down. Good to see all these folks, movers and shakers right here near my home city. We got to hear some really great stuff from, high-end like CEOs and really big market movers and shakers. It was so neat to see where the future of freight really is going, especially in this time where everybody's a little unsure and everybody's got different opinions.
Well, all right, we're talking opinions. You stepped in it. Hey, what's your opinion on the driver shortage?
I don't think the driver shortage is really going anywhere because there's still a lot of freight to move.
So you're for the driver shortage?
I don't know if anybody can be for or against the driver
shortage. Do you believe in a driver shortage, Drew?
It depends on what you mean by a driver shortage. I do think that there's a lot of mobility where drivers can switch jobs much easier than other places. So it certainly looks like there's a shortage because you're always having people leaving. You're always having people coming in.
Well, we know it's a revolving door. I think there's a shortage of qualified drivers willing to work by today's standards set by companies and insurance.
Oh, that's 100% the case. There are so many companies that have stopped their onboarding and training programs just because it was so risky to do, expensive to do it. And then the payoff was so long that a lot of times drivers changed careers or, decided not to move to a different carrier in the middle of training. So with all of those companies, you're doing that, why would you keep putting your neck out for the sake of the entire thing if you're not benefiting from it?
That's a hot take, and thank you for sharing it. Hey, Drew, where can people find Tenstreet?
Tenstreet's everywhere. So Tenstreet, if you're a driver, we've got the Driver Pulse app. You can look at your, fuel scores, maps, find jobs on there, all sorts of cool stuff on that one. And if you're not a driver, if you're a carrier, Tenstreet.com, we help you do all your recruiting, all your compliance, and all the fun stuff like that.
I'm here with Ava, and everyone tells me she's the face that runs the place. So, Ava, welcome to Cents Per Mile.
I just want to know how you came up with face that runs the place that quickly. And thank you, Charles.
What is your favorite part of F3?
The people here. This is my third F3. And yeah, it's just connecting with people, seeing everybody, the familiar faces that I've gone to the aquarium with in years past. This conference is really fun. And to me, it's about the relationship building.
I'm especially looking forward to the driver shortage debate with Lewie, Pugh from OOIDA and John Larkin. So what are you looking forward to out of this?
I mean, I'm very interested in the driver retention topic. I think we got to treat our drivers well. And, like you and I were talking about earlier, it seems pretty easy to solve this problem. Why wouldn't you pay drivers more? Do you have any opinions on that, Charles?
I do. Pay your drivers, pay them fair. And if McDonald's in the local area is making more than your drivers, you have a problem.
One of the customers that we work with, Tribe out of Atlanta, they have a lot. I went and spent the day with them recently, and they have a lot of very happy drivers. So I find like sometimes companies have an easier time, if they got their company drivers and can put them more on salary, benefits, keep them comfy, think about sensitivity to schedules.
Where can people find you?
Alvys.com. It's Alvys like Elvis, ALVYS.com.
Every conference we're at has golf.
At least I'm not in the back of a cart.
Yeah, we can't be at a freight festival without talking to Freight Caviar. We got Paul here.
Yo, what's going on, guys?
All right, outside of me feeling this big right now, Paul's one of my favorite people. He's an awesome guy, tons of knowledge. Why do you come to F3?
Why do I come to F3? Okay, F3, there's actually a few reasons why I come here. Chattanooga is an amazing city, and this is like a transportation hub. Per capita, there's more people in Chattanooga in logistics than anywhere else in the U.S. So the concentration of people here is incredible. The amount of companies that are here is really cool. And it's also just a lot of fun. The way they organize F3, this whole conference place here is like great. The people are great, and the bars are awesome. The concerts are fun. Like, it's the most fun I have at conferences.
It's a festival.
It's a festival. I love that, like, you go out here and, like, people out, like, the locals, like, know that you're here for the freight conference. You know, you go to Vegas, there's, like, 20 other conferences happening.
There's also those people trying to take a picture and then charge you to get your phone back.
Yeah. So it's honestly, like, the main reasons would be, like, Chattanooga's awesome. There's a lot of logistics people here, and they do a great job of, like, hosting events. It's a lot of fun, like, so much fun. And great people.
And Paul is awesome, and Paul is with Freight Caviar. How can they find you if they wanted to find you, even though you're, like, everywhere?
So you go to freightcaviar.com. You can subscribe to our newsletter. It's free. Or you could also follow us on our socials, @FreightCaviar, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Yeah.
We stopped over here at Lean Solutions. It's all about having conversations, introducing our audience to people here at F3. So who are you and what do you do?
Well, it's great to meet you. I'm Natalia. I'm with Lean Solutions, like you can see right here. We are a nearshore staffing provider for U.S. companies in logistics and transportation that need support, back office support outside of the U.S., so nearshore staffing solutions, right? So we provide solutions like we can do billing, dispatching, night and weekends, also on the tech side and on sales.
That sounds interesting. So if I'm one of our many viewers and I'm wondering if Lean Solutions is for me, who's your target demographic like? Who are your potential clients and customers?
Well, our potential clients are the ones that are looking to boost efficiency, to also have some cost savings, nearshoring to Colombia, and they're in the logistics and transportation industry. We have around 600 companies, clients that are in the industry as well. So we have a lot of experience in the field.
Nice. And if people wanted to find you, where could they find you at?
Well, they could find me on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn a lot. You can just email me at n.giraldo@leangroup.com, and I will be there.
So it would not be a freight festival without stopping to talk to OOIDA. And my good friend Lewie's here with me. How's it going?
Hey, it's going fantastic. I mean, here with you guys, Truck Stop, a lot of other people around here in the marketplace and in trucking. This is our first time I've ever been here. It's an interesting thing. It's nothing like I've ever been to before, but it's enjoyable.
I mean, it's a different demographic that comes to this one.
Yeah, I haven't seen a diesel motor anywhere, but I've sure seen a lot of computers.
And suits.
And video games and simulators and all kinds of stuff.
So one of the big things you're about is owner-operators, independent drivers, and their life, their experiences within the industry. And you hear people all the time talking about how do they make trucking sexy again. I think it's kind of easy. Just no one wants to look at the elephant in the room and address how to do it. So what's your thoughts?
I thought that's why you and I were talking. We're making trucking look sexy again. I guess I was mistaken.
I mean, can I be April?
Okay, as long as I'm October.
I got you. Hey, if I see a calendar come out, I want part.
Okay. But with that being said, you're right. I mean, the problem is, I started trucking in the early 90s, maybe the good old days, and they've passed us by to a point. But trucking is, there used to be a time when truckers were revered and looked at, people cared about them. I mean, just look at COVID. Truckers were like on the news and how great they were, and they're doing all these things. COVID's over. People were back to hating trucks. They're in the way. They're this. What we need to do is quit talking so much about trucks and talking about truckers. I think people forget, we love truckers. People forget that men and women with families and kids who play ball.
Livelihoods,
they drive truck. They're no different than me or you. They just aren't home every night. That's what frustrates me. I go, like I've testified and all these different things. I go, and I hear trucks, or the cargo. What about the guy or gal behind the wheel that's getting that stuff there? And we worry about where we have animals park, or we worry about, this or that. But we never worry about that man woman behind the wheel. And we don't personalize trucking like we used to, in my opinion.
It's definitely not personalized, because you see a lot of companies advertise, you're a name, not a number, but then every time they're communicating, hey, what's your truck number?
Yeah, what's your truck number? What's your driver number? Yeah, and I mean, I get it. When you got 10,000 drivers or something like that, that's true. But you know what? Let's pay them. Let's start right.
What a novel idea.
You know?
People show up to a job to be isolated in a cabin. They want paid?
I know.
Tell me something new.
But pay them, not only pay them, but pay them well and pay them for the job they do. It's been proven time and time again. If people are paid well in this industry, our highways are safer.
Well, my wife, my son, my family goes on those roads, and I was always taught that complacency kills. So if you pay the people a healthy wage where they should, brings in and attracts people that care about the job and has respect for the profession they do, then naturally you're going to solve that problem. But yet we go back to companies spending absurd amount of money to bring in new drivers, or like the one guy said on the show, they're even going after orphanages and trying to find the aging out orphans. I mean, these seem like ludicrous ideas when, hey, I could pay a couple more cents a mile. I can pay a healthy wage. I can sit there and not take all the fuel surcharge away from owner operators or any of it because it's their fuel that they're paying for. I mean, there's some simple solutions, but yet we keep circling them and finding innovative or not so innovative ways to solve it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just all they want to do is worry about keeping labor costs down and all this. That's it. Carriers don't care about that. It just drives me nuts because they do all these things. Plus, they come up with all these little gimmicks and gadgets and all this crap to watch what the driver does, to monitor the driver. Maybe they should start monitoring themselves. I mean, Large Motor Care a few years ago, they changed their whole operation. They started paying their drivers. They quit hiring new people, raised their pay, to record-setting levels. Their accidents went way down. Their retention went went up. Yeah, it went up and all this. And guess what? Wasn't long that they figured out, this is costing us too much money. It's cheaper to have accidents and have a high turnover rate than it is to just pay the driver. And that is the craziest. So we're putting driver wages, the lowering of them, that's more important than safety on our highways. And that's been the problem over and over and over again. And I mean, Todd Spencer, my boss, our president, been in OOIDA forever. He said it best, when the job sucks, you got to find more suckers. And that's what we've gotten into in trucking. And I mean, no disrespect to anybody out there on the road, but it is, they're trying to figure out anything and everything they can do to not pay you and value you for your time. Educate shippers, educate your receivers, brokers. Everybody out there needs to know truckers have a certain amount of time they're allowed to work, a certain amount of time they need to rest. They should be trucking. That's what you want to cut down congestion on the damn highways? Hey, load the trucks. How many less trucks would we need out here on the highways if shippers and receivers got trucks in and out at a timely manner?
Wait, you did? All right. Nostalgia happening. One of my favorite times in trucking was sitting at a dock and not getting paid.
Yeah, exactly. Don't we all love that? Sitting around the driver room at some warehouse, bitching and bullshitting each other while none of us are getting paid. I got a guy who was in my office last week at OOIDA, worked for 5.5 days. He was going on the road. But all his loads, he had to sit here and he sat there. And so when it was all said and done, being gone from his family 5 days, he made $383 after tax.
That's like bananas that is the case with that. I think absolutely.
You know how they say some things get better with age?
Yeah, no,
not bananas. You work with Lewie. We see you behind the scenes a lot. I just wanted to show everyone that everyone needs a Paul or a banana. And for OOIDA, that's you.
I left my banana costume at home today, but brought the OOIDA stuff. So yeah, happy to be here, meeting some new people, talking to folks in industry, learning more about logistics. But as Lewie was saying, every single day in Washington, D.C., we're fighting for truckers, small business truckers. That's our bread and butter. It's the bread and butter of logistics in general, and it's why we fight. So we encourage everyone to go to fightingfortruckers.com. And contact your lawmaker, contact the regulators, because, as Lewie says all the time, and I'm sure he said on this show before, that it takes a lot more time to put an angry social media post together than it does to actually directly contact your lawmaker and their staff, because it does go a long way. And it does go a long way.
We love truckers.
Absolutely.
100%. And you can come to our website. It's OOIDA.com is the easiest place. Our number one thing is fighting for the rights of truckers. We have a complete staff on Capitol Hill. They're fighting every single solitary day. They're there wearing out their shoes, trying to get you paid first and foremost. Got truckers trying to get you parking, trying to get you a restroom that you can use, and all these other things where drivers are treated like second-class citizens. Not at OOIDA. We appreciate what truckers do, and we love y'all. And join OOIDA. Let's fight this fight together and make trucking great again.
A conversation that's been around the industry now for almost a decade, the continued driver shortage. That's the question. Is it real? Is it not real? Does it exist? Does it not exist? If so, how many drivers are we short? Are we just short qualified drivers, or is it really a labor problem in the industry? Here to debate it, we've got two fine minds from Clarendon Capital, John Larkin, and then on this side, taking the stance of the driver themselves, please welcome Lewie, Pugh, Executive Director of the OOIDA.
All I ever wanted to be was a truck driver. And when I got into high school in the late 80s, early 90s, I heard how this is the greatest field in the world to go into because they need 160,000 people or some crazy amount, every year, and all this stuff, and you'll have work forever. What they left out is you won't get paid a lot of money. You get treated pretty bad. You're always looking for a place to sleep. There's always an enforcement officer with a handout, and pretty much everything the large fleets do, they dump it down on the driver. This is why we don't have a driver shortage. We've been hearing this myth for 40 years, ever since deregulation. Why? Because motor carriers have created a huge business model on the churn. We have a driver turnover problem. Over 90% turnover in the long-haul trucking industry. That means there's carriers out there operating far over 100% turnover. Now, as we look at our own businesses, how could we survive if we're overturning over 100% of our staff? It's crazy. But we continue to do this. Why? Because it brings down wages, it keeps costs low, and that's the model. That's what trucking companies want to do.
Just for the record, I love truckers too. I've got my OOIDA button on. I would tell you that right this instant, there is not a driver shortage. The industry has cultivated different sources of drivers. First, it was veterans. Then it was people from Eastern Europe, Africa, and other places. More recently, it's been women that we've been trying to recruit into the industry. We still have way too few, probably, women driving trucks in this country. And freight has been flat, as we learned from Noel and Mr. Strickland yesterday. No big growth there. We've had some excess supply. But there's a very good chance in 2025 and 2026 that we'll get the economy rolling again. Freight will start to pick up. We've got the nearshoring phenomenon. We've got the manufacturing automation phenomenon. And I think that will drive a lot more freight and will tighten up supply and demand, at which point the big carriers will, as they have in the past, struggle to recruit and retain, emphasis on retain, drivers. There's one company that shall go nameless that I'm aware of that for quite a long time had a driver turnover ratio in the 250 to 275% range. How you can make money with that kind of ridiculous turnover is beyond me. But I would tell you there is definitely a shortage even today of adequate market clearing pay and benefits for drivers. And we can thank the shippers for that, who beat down prices and make it uneconomical for carriers to survive if they pay their drivers what they're worth. We need higher driver pay. There's no question about it.
You make a very good point. 225% turnover rate of carrier. How do you have a shortage if you replace 225%? How? I mean, just think about that. And why? Because of some of the things that John said. Pay. Trucking pay is stagnant. We hear all the time, truckers, you make $50,000 entry-level position. That seems like not a bad wage for somebody with, high school education or something. I can make $50,000 a year. But let's think about that $50,000. Truckers don't work 40 hours a week. They work 70. They work 80. They also work in a occupation that is controlled by hours of service by the federal government, but yet they're paid piecework by mile. They don't get paid overtime. They're actually exempt from overtime. When there was a bill in Congress introduced to get that exemption removed from the Fair Labor Standards Act, what we heard from the American Trucking Association and the big motor carriers is we're setting this up for trial attorneys. That's what this is. We want more rules and more regulations. It's going to help trial attorneys. How are we going to have more rules and more regulations if we're asking to remove a regulation, not add? And how are you going to get sued unless you don't pay truckers like you're supposed to and pay them overtime? Seems pretty common sense to me.
The fundamental issue at hand is that truck driving is part and parcel critical to the success of this country. 80% of the freight that moves in this country is moved by a truck. Everything in this room is moved by a truck. We can't survive. We can't eat. We can't wear clothes. We can't live in a house without trucking. And the drivers who are out there making it happen are really underappreciated by almost everybody, most citizens, shippers, receivers, etc. They have access to little to no health care. There are no wellness programs or very few available to them. The food that's available at truck stops is usually of poor quality and unhealthy. There's usually a shortage of restrooms, if any restrooms at all, at shippers and receivers. It's just inhumane treatment. And there's a lack of good ideas as to how to bring in high-quality people into the industry in that 18 to 23-year-old age bracket, because insurance companies say you have to be 23 in order to drive, because by then your prefrontal cortex, which is the decision-making component of your brain, especially for young men, is close to fully developed, and you can make relatively good decisions at that point.
I wanted to drive a truck since I was a 5-year-old kid. I joined the Army, drove truck in the Army from 18 to 21. My 21st birthday, I got my CDL, and 2 days later, I left because when I started, you either drove a big orange cab over or a big yellow cab over. I went and started driving a big orange cab over and did that for a few months until I worked for a small business owner-operator, and then about 6 months later bought my own truck. So it is possible. This whole notion of bringing 18-year-olds into the industry and just letting them run all over the country, though, I think it's crazy. We all know kids crash more. It's just that's proven. They crash way, way more because they do dumb stuff. I did dumb stuff. We probably all did dumb stuff when we were young.
Some companies actually do focus on retention and are able to generate turnover rates of 10 or 20%. Really impressive. I mean, LTL carriers often have turnover rates below 10%. And it's a combination of things you need to do to drive a lower turnover rate or a higher retention rate, depending upon how you look at it. First of all, you need to have pay that's market-based or higher. You need to have good benefits. You need to have an understanding dispatcher or fleet manager who is sympathetic to the needs of that driver and can get that driver home on a Friday night if his kid has a soccer game, something like that. There also needs to be a dialogue between the shippers and the carriers to let the shippers know that, hey, look, if you don't treat our drivers the way they deserve to be treated, we're not going to serve you anymore.
Seen a lot of pitches here at F3, talked to a lot of people, made a lot of new freight friends. This is all the reasons you should be at F3. Registration's already open to register for next year. Make sure you do so, otherwise, major FOMO. That's on you. But
it's time to split.
Comment below if you want to see Paul do the splits for the next episode. We'll make it happen. I know a guy. But thanks for tuning in to Cents Per Mile. I'm your host, Charles Gracie.
I don't know a guy who can do the splits, at least not me, guy. I'm your co-host, Paul Gibson. See you next time.